Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show, where we interview CEOs, celebrities, social entrepreneurs, and other activists and thought leaders in social good. And we're excited to have with us today really a great man, someone who spent his entire career building community here in Salt Lake City, Utah. His name is Soren Simonsen. He's a well-known figure here. But for much of the world, of course, this will be an introduction. Soren serves as the president of the Impact Hub Salt Lake and also as the executive director of Community Studio. Soren, thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to have you.
Well, thanks, Devin, for the invitation. Great to be with you.
You really have had a remarkable career. You served on the Salt Lake City Council for, was it 10 or 12 years? You've done a number of things in just around the community. You've always been involved in the community. Help us understand what it is about you as an architect that has drawn you into being such a community builder.
Well, I probably credit a lot of that to my my parents and my grandparents and others that have really distilled in me a desire to be somebody that does good in the world. And that starts with doing good in your home, expands to your neighborhood, then your city and community, and it just goes on and on. And I'm very passionate about where I live and want it to be a great city, great neighborhood, and that's really inspired me to do a lot of things that have stretched me and have taught me, but have given me incredible opportunities to meet and work with incredible change makers here in Salt Lake City and around the West.
You really have been engaged in a lot of things, but I want to go back kind of to your roots as an architect. Clearly that's what you did in school. You'd planned to do that. Did becoming involved actively in the community grow naturally out of that? Was it initially part of the strategy? How did it become so big a part of your role? Because I ask because not all architects get involved in the community the same way you do, though I think it's not an unusual feeling for architects to want to use design in the ways that can help and support and build communities, but you've gone far beyond the architecture. Help us find the connection between your architecture and your passion for community.
Well, there were probably a couple of influences. I had a teacher in high school. It was my very first term in my freshman year at Johnston High School in Austin, Texas. Mr. Grams, who taught our urban geography course. And I was really fascinated with cities, I think ever since I was a young boy. And that's probably what drove me into a career in architecture, but my career in architecture probably is not like many traditional architects in that I don't just focus on designing buildings, but have also expanded my interests and my passion to designing great cities. And cities, of course, are made up of buildings, but they're also made up of a lot of other things. They're made up of people and activities and great places to hang out, places to recreate, places to do things together that inspire us. So that, for me, very early on was really part of what drove me in my profession as an architect. I studied at the University of Texas and was really fascinated with urban design and planning and public policy. And I think I learned very early on that in order to be a truly remarkable architect, you really have to look at architecture as not just being designing a building and all of the pieces and components that go on inside the building, but that building becomes a contributor in the same way to creating a great neighborhood or a great city. And so, and a lot of the decisions about creating great neighborhoods and great cities are not decisions that are made in large part by architect or any other professional. They're really made up of the community working together on common values, common causes. And so I can't point to one thing that kind of led me in that direction, but I know it was very early in my career, probably while I was at the University of Texas, that I realized that to shape architecture and to shape community, I really have to shape all of the forces that affect that. And those forces are business, those forces are political, particularly at the local level, those forces are economic, those forces are social, those forces are environmental. And so that's led me to want to be an influencer in all of those different areas that affect community and building a great community, because they're all tied together. They're very integral.
I think a lot of us think of a city or a community as being something that just happens, that all of these disparate forces you talk about operate in some environment where we have no access to them, and so we are relegated to a role of simply experiencing what comes. And yet you have taken an activist role. You've said, I can shape, I can be involved. How did you come to the conclusion that there was a role for you, and how have you gone about playing that role strategically?
Well, a couple of things come to mind. One is my mother was a German immigrant, and so as a child I had an opportunity to visit Europe, France, Germany, Italy, really the communities that shaped Western civilization, and was exposed to architectural history and human history in Europe and also in the Americas. My father studied at Johns Hopkins, and so although I grew up in Texas, I visited Washington and Baltimore and some of those early places that shaped American history. And I came to the realization that you don't just have to go out and visit great places. The place you live can be a great place as well. Why on earth should I have to go to Europe to experience the charm of a 1,000-year-old city when I can help shape my city to be a great city over 1,000 years? And so that was a real kind of eye-opening moment for me, and I don't remember exactly when it happened, but that's really been kind of what's driven me in a lot of the community work that I've done is let's not settle. I mean, you said earlier in your comment that cities just happen, and many cities do just happen. You can let the forces, whatever forces they be, economic or development or transportation or systems, infrastructure, you can let those forces kind of drive things, or you can shape all of those pieces together collectively to create a community that is, as the adage goes, is better than the sum of the parts. And that, to me, is really what community building is all about, is the social, the environmental, the economic, the cultural aspects of community all coming together. And there are great examples of this. In North America, I think of places like Vancouver in British Columbia, San Francisco, and other communities, Sausalito in the Bay Area, Boulder, Colorado. And we've got communities like that here in Utah. I think Salt Lake is making a lot of progress. I think places like Park City and Provo certainly are trying to get all of those right pieces in the right places at the right times, and it's been very exciting to help shape some of the things going on here, but also to learn from other communities that have been doing it very successfully for a long, long time.
Well, Soren, you're kind of part of the power elite, at least now you are. You've served on the city council, you're an influential businessman in the community, you make investments, you're involved in so many different things. A lot of people listening to this conversation might be inspired by what you've done and yet not feel empowered by it because they feel like, I'm no Soren Simonsen, how can I do what he's done? How do you begin if you want to be a community builder in some other place or even here in Salt Lake? How do you start?
Well, everything starts small, and at the end of the day, I'm just another guy like anybody else who's trying to make their mark on the world, as you've taught me, to guide my passions into something that's productive and that really is positive for the community as a whole. And all of those positive influences give you encouragement. They buoy your enthusiasm. Certainly there's some luck and timing that helps along the way, but a lot of it's just hard work and being in the trenches. And my family will be the first to attest that I don't watch much TV with my kids as some might do, because I'm out doing things. But I've involved my kids. I'll take them to a community meeting, and everyone tells me, hey, your kids are really well behaved. Mine would never sit there. Well, bring them along and teach them what community meetings are all about. And you might be surprised at how engaged even young people are, and how enthusiastic they are about thinking about their future. And we're making a lot of decisions now that will affect the next generation and probably a couple generations after that. And so engaging young people keeps me young, but it also helps pass on what I have to the next generation of enthusiasts and activists and community builders. And that's as rewarding as anything. I look back over the last 20 years or so, and I feel very grateful for a number of projects and community initiatives that I've been a part of. And as always, any one person's just a small piece of the puzzle, but meeting great people and kind of putting our energy together and joining forces has done some really remarkable things here, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it.
Well, you really are doing some amazing things, and you're certainly young enough to have a lot of influence in the future. We're excited to have you speak at the Social Enterprise and Crowdfunding Conference on September 26th at Snowbird, and I wonder if you could give us any sort of a prelude to the thoughts that you might share there while we're visiting today.
Well, a couple of things that I'll say. First of all, I've been so impressed with the way that technology is, even though it has its downsides for sure. We don't sometimes do as much as face-to-face as we'd like to, but look at us here. You and I are connecting across the airwaves and connecting to people around the world. Anybody can tap into that. So I'm really impressed with how this connectivity across, with no borders is multiplying the effect that you can do with good ideas and good intentions, married with the ability to collaborate and find new partners in different ways. So that's something that I really hope to elaborate on, and showing some positive things that are happening here with some case studies. The other piece of it is that which we'll demonstrate with the work we're doing here at Impact Hub, is to show how impassioned people that are working together on site, getting their hands messy and their minds messy, wrapping around some of the big challenges that face us, can do some pretty remarkable things. And we are already seeing some great new projects and initiative emerging out of Impact Hub Salt Lake, and tying in with the Hub network around the globe and around North America. And it's really rich, and it's been very rewarding, and I think we've only started to scratch the surface of the best that's yet to come.
Soren, one of the things that we'll be doing at the Social Enterprise and Crowdfunding Conference is that the Wayne Brown Institute will be helping us with a social deal forum, and that is an opportunity for two social entrepreneurs to pitch a group of accredited investors, experienced investors, and I'm excited to see if we can't pull some of the entrepreneurs who are involved in the Impact Hub and are doing good things. They're making a difference in the world and are really showing potential, to get them to be a part of this deal forum at the event. Can you think of any companies that are involved at the Impact Hub that are kind of ready for prime time?
Well, there's some emerging projects, and I don't know if there's any that are ready to kind of put out here on the airwaves just yet, but I know there's a lot of things in the works that are going on, from arts and cultural initiatives to working on poverty and social service initiatives, to food and food production. So stay tuned, because you'll start to hear about some of those, and I hope we'll have some that we can announce at the crowdfunding conference, and you won't want to miss that. But I would just say that, you know, the way that deals like this have been structured in the past, it's, you know, kind of a friend of a friend, and that can be a limited network. And with the power of technology and the internet and social initiative, you know, crowdfunding and crowd campaigns and friend raising that's going on, I mean, there's thousand-fold multipliers to the people that you can connect with and expand those networks. And there are, you know, I've come across through my life a handful of people that really want to make a difference with their investing, and I've come across literally thousands of people that are trying to find the ways to fund those initiatives they're working on. And through the crowdfunding conference and the forums and all of the tools and resources that are coming to bear now, I think that there are so many positive things that are, you know, kind of right on the fringe of becoming these incredible opportunities. So that's a very, very exciting to be kind of working in that arena, and to watch you and others that are leading that front. And I'm excited to see where it takes us over the next few years.
Well, yeah, it is going to be fun. And another one of the things that's going on at the Social Enterprise and Crowdfunding Conference this year is that the Community Foundation of Utah will be making micro grants of just $1,000 to 5 social entrepreneurs or nonprofit groups. This is a really good opportunity for people who are in startup mode and just trying to get off the ground when money is so incredibly dear. And we'll also set them up to do a crowdfunding campaign that day. So the 5 companies that we select to make those pitches are all guaranteed to get a little bit of money through the crowdfunding, but they'll have the opportunity to really turn that into something material if their crowdfunding campaign takes off and they are successful in obtaining the micro grant from the Community Foundation of Utah. And the Community Foundation of Utah has been very generous. They've offered to fund potentially all 5 of the finalists if they are impressed with them. So there's no real limit on the number or the amount of those donations, but they've committed at least $1,000 if they see something they like. So,
what a remarkable resource they are.
Yeah, it is. They're a great community resource, and so some of the things that you're seeing at the Impact Hub may be good candidates for the microgrant program if they're not yet ready to pitch at the Wayne Brown Social Deal Forum that day. So I really hope we can get the Hub community engaged in the conference, because I think they'll love it. Stephanie Stetler, your colleague there at the Impact Hub, will be speaking, and I know the CEO, Dustin, who seems to be shy about speaking, is going to be there circulating, and he is one of the great people to know in the community. So I really appreciate you helping the Hub community really engaging with us on this conference. It'll be great.
Well, we look forward to it. I think, as I recall, this is your 3rd or 4th year now?
It's just our 2nd, but we are looking forward to the 3rd and 4th years.
Well, you're doing as much work as one might expect in 3 or 4 years. So,
yeah, it feels like that. It feels like that. Right now, it's a pretty small staff we're working with. You're looking at him, but it's really a labor of love and a real passion. So, Soren, you've been extremely generous with your time. We've gone over. I apologize for that. But thank you very, very much for being here. Tell people how they can engage with you best and how you would most like to engage with people.
Well, at the Impact Hub level, come around. We're located downtown. We're at 44 Exchange Place for the next few weeks, and then we'll be moving into our new facility at 150 South State. So just come on down and drop by and visit us. You can find us online at hubsaltlake.com. And if you have any questions for me, my Twitter handle is at Soren Simonsen, and you can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I look forward to continuing the discussion.
Well, thank you very, very much, Soren. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Devin.
All righty, let's do some good.